We're no stranger to leaks and rumours these days, are we? It's kind of just a given that before a new camera or a lens is announced, there will be leaks about it a week beforehand. A lot of the time, I think this is actually intentional by the manufacturer to help drum up some additional hype. You know, a leaked spec sheet or some leaked images a day or two before, or whoops, a shop's accidentally put pictures up online before the product's been announced. But today, yesterday, whenever it was, there were two leaked videos of the Canon 90D and the M6 Mark II. And when I say leaked videos, I mean those heavily CGI promo videos that Canon release when they officially announce a camera. Now, it's been rumoured forever and a day that the 90D and the M6 Mark II were coming. It's been mentioned for God knows how long. There's been specs speculated for a good couple of months. It's been heavily rumoured for the last few weeks that an announcement is going to be coming at the tail end of this month. But to have two videos like that leaked, I don't buy it. Either somebody's losing their job or Canon intentionally put those videos out a week early. But where the hell does it end? I mean, at this rate, we're going to have cameras being accidentally shipped a week before they're released. But anyway, on to the cameras themselves. So, 90D M6 Mark II. Nothing really surprising, nothing strangely out of the blue, kind of what we expected, i.e. a step up from the predecessor, but not exactly groundbreaking compared to the competition. Both cameras will employ a brand new 32 megapixel APS-C sensor, which is presumably going to have better dynamic range and better noise performance to bring it more in line with what we're seeing from the likes of the Sony sensors. In terms of shooting speeds, we've got the 90D stated to shoot up to 10 frames a second and the M6 Mark II stated to shoot up to 14 frames a second. Not a snowball's chance in hell. Both of them have the same sensor, they both have a Digicate processor. There's no way that the diddy little M6 Mark II is going to be able to shoot like 40% faster than the 90D. It just isn't going to happen. I'm going to bet the 90D is 10 frames a second with AF tracking, but the M6 Mark II will do 14 frames a second without AF tracking, which is kind of pointless. And it will probably do more like 9 or 10 frames a second at best with AF tracking. There was rumours quite a while ago that Canon would be scrapping the 7D series cameras in favour of the 90D, just merging the two into one. And yes, the 10 frames a second of the 90D puts it level with the 7D Mark II, but it's no better. The AF system in the 90D appears to be a revised version of the 45-point AF system from the 80D, so it's probably going to only be on par with what the 7D Mark II was managing anyway. The other big advantages of the 7D series over the 80D was the better build quality, the more rugged construction, and the opportunity of dual card slots. And it appears like the 90D is still essentially the 80D shell, so I don't think it's going to have the construction level of the 7D series, and it looks like it only has a single card slot as well. So while I imagine the 90D could be a good replacement for anyone on the 80D, the 70D, the 7D, or anything lower than that, anyone who's already on the 7D Mark II and was hoping for a good upgrade from this, I don't think it's going to be there. I think at best the 90D draws level with the 7D, but isn't really a justified upgrade unless you specifically need that additional 12 megapixel resolution. Now, the 80D and the M5/M6 were extremely popular cameras, and no doubt these replacements are going to be just as popular. But the big appeal to them is that they suit such a broad range of potential users. They're good for people who shoot only stills, and people who shoot only video, or hybrid shooters that do a mix of both. However, I think the biggest question mark that's going to hang over the potential success of these cameras is the video features. Back when the 80D was announced, it wasn't particularly groundbreaking at all. In fact, it just barely caught up to the competition. It offered similar sort of image quality for stills and shooting speed performance, but there was no 4K video, there was no full frame at 120 frames a second either, which the competition was offering. Now, on paper, the 90D and M6 Mark II both now offer these 4K up to 30 frames a second and 1080 up to 120 frames a second. But we know from previous experience with Canon, we can't quite trust this yet, as all of their previous cameras shown, but specifically the M50. Canon are seemingly incapable of producing a full sensor readout for 4K video. They always go with the one-to-one readout that gives a ridiculously heavy crop. And in the M50, the camera had no dual pixel autofocus in 4K either. It only had contrast detection. And those two things combined, crop factor and poor autofocus, basically made the M50 useless for 4K shooting. Now, I really hope with these announcements that we see things change with Canon, but from what I've seen from the video, it's not looking hopeful. Because let's be honest, Canon have had quite a bit of stick in recent years for the crop factor of their 4K video. So you would think that if they're bringing out a camera that has full sensor readout, that they would kind of make a bit of a song and dance about it. But I can see absolutely no mention of it in the promo videos. It says it does 4K UHD, but so did the M50. And if it is one-to-one pixel readout in these cameras, it's going to be even worse, because the higher the resolution of your sensor is, a one-to-one 4K readout is a smaller and smaller portion, so the crop factor goes up. So the M50 with a 24 megapixel sensor had a 1.6 times crop factor. The 5D Mark IV with a 30 megapixel sensor had a 1.74 times crop factor. So the 90D and M6 Mark II, if they are a one-to-one readout at 32 megapixels, you're going to be looking about a 1.8 times crop factor on top of your normal 1.6 APS-C. That'd be like smartphone levels of crop factor, so why bother at all? But I can't even decide if these cameras are a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, if you're already in the Canon lineup and you're after a new camera, then yeah, these could be an opportunity for you if the specs are what you're after. But the specs in themselves barely draw level with the likes of the A6500, which in itself is a 2-year-old camera, which apparently is going to have its replacement announced the day after Canon announced these cameras. So Canon are basically going to be level with the competition for 24 hours, and then the bar's going to get raised again. Plus, with the EFM lineup, there's potential in it. It's impressive. It's good for a travel photographer's perspective. Hell, I've even got my mum shooting on the M5 because it's a good little travel camera for what she needs. But she doesn't require like a fleet of lenses. It's been 7 years since Canon released the original M. In that time, they've brought out 9 different EOS M bodies. They had the M, the M2, the M3, the M5, the M6, the M10, the M100, the M50, and now the M6 Mark II. 9 bodies in 7 years, but in that same 7 years, they've only brought out 7 lenses, and half of them aren't particularly brilliant. They've got the 15 to 45 kit lens, the 18 to 55 kit lens, the 18 to 150 kit lens, the 55 to 200 telephoto lens, which for sports and wildlife is neither use nor ornament. The only half decent lenses they've got are the 11 to 22, the 28mm macro, the 22mm f2 prime, and the newer 32mm f1.4. Now, a saving grace for them, I suppose, is that a few weeks ago, Sigma announced that their range of APS-C mirrorless lenses, the 16, the 30, and the 56mm f1.4s, are going to be available in EFM mounts shortly. But Canon cannot rely on third-party manufacturers to keep this lineup going. If they're insisting on keeping the EFM lineup alive, they need to bring out some more lenses to go with it. So I imagine the 90D and the M6 Mark II from a solely stills perspective will be extremely capable cameras like their predecessors beforehand, and for people only shooting stills, they will probably be very popular cameras. The big question mark is going to be, have Canon stepped their game up from the video shooting perspective? But I imagine even if they have stepped their game up from their previous models, I don't think they've caught up to the competition yet. And I still think there's going to be quite a few people who are getting tired of waiting for Canon to catch up and are going to start moving to other brands. But what do you make of these cameras? Are you excited by them? Are you going to be ordering them? Are you a Canon shooter that's thinking of moving? Or could you not care less? Leave your thoughts and comments in the box down below. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.